an application of data, not necessarily big data, to gain insights on a new marketing method that took the marketing world and the business world by storm approximately 4 years ago. What I'm referring to is daily deals, and more specifically Groupon, the company that sort of invented this business model. Most of you by now will have probably heard of Groupon, but for those that haven't, Groupon is a multi-billion-dollar electronic commerce marketplace that connects businesses, usually small businesses, to consumers by offering discounts and promotions. The way it works, and I apologize for the resolution, if you go to the Groupon website, you might see something like that. So this is a coupon for sailing that you can buy for $65. And the big feature here is that the price of the coupon is usually, of the product is usually $135. So you're getting a substantial discount. And Groupon offers those discounts every day in great variety throughout the United States and worldwide. Their business model is quite simple. There are three parties in this exchange. First of all, the consumers. This would be you and I who buy the coupons. Then there are the businesses, your local restaurants, spas, gyms, and whatnot. And then there is Groupon. So whenever you buy a coupon, like the $65 coupon that I display here, Groupon maintains 50% of the value of the coupon. So $32 will go roughly to the business, and $32 will roughly go to Groupon, all right? So the business is essentially offering you a 75% discount. Very good. So using this very simple business model, Groupon managed to grow tremendously in a very short amount of time. And I'm not sure how many of you remember, at the time it was called the fastest growing startup ever. Its revenue grew from practically zero in 2008 to approximately $3 billion in 2012. And the number of subscribers, the number of consumers who were signing up to receive those offers from Groupon grew from zero, pretty much, in 2008 to approximately 200 million subscribers in 2012. And I'm sure these numbers are even bigger now. These numbers are slightly updated. Owing to the success of Groupon, many other businesses try to replicate this business model. I have a few here: Living Social, Guild, Amazon, you name it. Unfortunately, not everyone was as successful. Some companies just folded. In fact, out of the approximately 10,000 daily deal publishers that I counted with my co-authors, around 2011, 10% of them just folded in the last 6 months of 2011. Groupon itself is a public company, so we can see how it's doing on the stock market. And its stock price has been an absolute roller coaster. So you cannot really see the y-axis here, but its IPO price was approximately $20. Within a day, it jumped to approximately 30. A year later, it was near $3. And if you check the price today, it's, what is it? Approximately $7. So it's all over the place. Motivated by these observations, my co-authors and I started wondering, can we learn more about this business model? And in particular, we had two questions in mind. The first one is, as an entrepreneur or as an investor, should we invest in businesses like that? Should we start a business like that ourselves? They seem to be hugely successful. The second question was, as a small local business that wants to attract consumers, should we be offering a Groupon? Should we be offering our products and services for 75% off? How might that affect the reputation of our business? All right? So these are the two questions that we wanted to ask. And usually, to answer those questions, we might go and run a survey or might collect Groupon data. But in this case, I want to argue that we can learn more by bringing together disparate data sources and matching them together. Specifically, for our analysis, we looked at Yelp reviews. I presume that most of you are familiar with Yelp, but for those of you that aren't, It's simply a website where consumers go and review local businesses. This is what Yelp looks like on my left. So you can see here the listing for Cha Cha Cha, which is a salon in the south end of Boston. These are some reviews. Here is a 5-star review by a happy consumer, some opening hours, the price range, and other useful information. Cha 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 is also very proud of its Yelp rating. So when I was walking outside the salon, I saw the sign, I took a picture of it, and you can see that the only thing they display is pretty much the fact that they're open, the name of the business, and that they have 4.5 stars on Yelp, which is actually not quite true. They only have 4 stars. So businesses really care about the Yelp rating. Interestingly, if you scroll down and try to read more of the reviews, you will notice that consumers do mention when they visited the business using a coupon. And this is what we're trying to exploit to understand more about this business model. So you might ask, why Yelp ratings? It seems rather far-fetched. Well, here's my answer. First of all, Yelp is absolutely enormous. It has approximately 30 million reviews, and that's slightly outdated again. Pretty much every local business I know of is on Yelp, and businesses cannot opt out. There are at least 2 papers that I know of that have causally associated increased Yelp ratings with increased revenues. So a 1-star increase in your Yelp rating might lead to up to 9% increased revenues. And for restaurants specifically, half-star increase was found to increase the probability of a restaurant being sold out by approximately 50%. So that's why businesses care a lot about Yelp. They also care a lot about Yelp, and they spam it a lot. So on Yelp, you will find quite a few fake reviews. And finally, Yelp reviews are forever. So unlike offline word of mouth, online word of mouth persists. So if you get a bad review, it doesn't simply go away. It stays there for future consumers to see and act upon. So here's what we did. We collected a data set, and as I warned you, it's not very big. So first, we looked at Groupon for approximately 6 months, and we collected every single deal that Groupon offered in 20 large North American cities. This is approximately 16,500 deals. Then we looked at Yelp. We linked those businesses with their associated Yelp listings and collected all of the reviews. Our dataset in the end contained approximately 7 million reviews for 1 million businesses, and I will explain why we have more businesses in the latter dataset than we do in the former. All right, so before I give you our answer, which is based on what the data says, I want to tell you what Groupon thinks the answer should be as to whether you should be running a Groupon deal. So Groupon has a website for businesses, for small local businesses, to go and sign up, and they make 2 claims there that I have copied for you here on the screen. The first one is that you get advertising that works and makes you money. The second one is that you get great customers, good customers, happy customers that might get a discount today, but they're going to come back in the future and pay full price and come back again and again and again and eventually be profitable. So if Groupon's claims are true, then we expect to see 2 things in the data. First of all, increased word of mouth. So maybe after you run a Groupon deal, you should get more consumers and more reviews. And if these customers are truly happy, then the ratings they give to your business, they should be no different than the ratings you were getting anyways. Maybe they're going to be even better. But certainly we hope they're not lower. So here is what we did. This is a cartoon version of our data set. So you can imagine that we have 3 businesses, and these are their timelines. And they maybe get some reviews before they offer a Groupon. So 5 stars, 3 stars, 5 stars, then they offer a Groupon, and they start getting maybe more reviews. So as a first step, we'll take our data, and we're going to align everything so that we know which reviews came before the respective Groupon offers and which reviews came after the respective Groupon offers. And if we do that, and we plot all 16,000 businesses together, we see something like that. Now, I know this is a very busy chart, so let me walk you through it. So along the x-axis here, I simply have the number of days from the Groupon offer that the businesses offer. So minus 90 means approximately 3 months before your Groupon offer. Plus 90 means approximately 3 months after your Groupon offer. The gray bar, which is hardly visible here, I apologize. Can anyone see that? I'm afraid not. All right. So the gray bar along the bottom is the number of reviews per day that these businesses were getting on that specific offset. And what you can see here is a sharp discontinuity. The number of reviews that businesses get immediately jumps the moment they offer a Groupon offer. What happens? Many people buy the coupons, they go, they try the businesses, and then they review them on Yelp. The other thing that you notice, I have highlighted this subset of reviews here. These reviews actually mention the keyword Groupon. These are consumers that used Groupon to visit those businesses. So far, so good. Now, on the second chart, on the top, I have plotted the average rating of those businesses on Yelp before and after they ran a Groupon. So you can see that for approximately a year before, it's hovering around 3.75 stars. And then the moment they ran Groupon, their Yelp rating declines substantially. There is a very sharp discontinuity. In fact, the difference between the pre and the post rating is approximately 0.2 stars. And for those of you that use Yelp, you will know that this is a huge difference that can make or break a business. Another thing that we found is that this difference was driven by users using Groupon. So when looking at the darker gray reviews, which contain the keyword Groupon, versus the reviews from other customers, we found approximately half-star difference. So people who were mentioning Groupon in the reviews were far more critical than their peers. Another interesting feature of this chart is another discontinuity at 180. So this is approximately half a year later. What is going on half a year later? Well, most of these coupons also carry an expiration date. And for most of them, the expiration is 6 months. So a bunch of people remember that they bought a Groupon back here. It's about to expire. They cannot use it anymore. So they go to the business, maybe a bit late, and they use it. They go back to Yelp, and then they complain about their experience. Another feature of this chart that surprised us is that even after the expiration date, most coupons have expired here, maybe just a few here. On average, ratings do not recover. So by that point, which is more than a year later, you're hardly getting any Groupon customers. And yet, the ratings that you're getting are far lower than what you used to get back before you ran a Groupon. So this has caused a substantial damage to your reputation. And the question is, why? So we came up with 5 reasons, and I will briefly present them. The first one is, maybe it has nothing to do with Groupon. Something that we have observed in marketing is that ratings and scores tend to decline naturally over time. Why is that? Well, you can imagine that maybe if you're a Harry Potter fan and you've read the first book, and then the second book comes out, you will be among the first people to buy the book. You will give it 5-star on Amazon because you're a fan of Harry Potter. And then maybe your friend who is not a fan of Harry Potter later will buy the same book, but will not like it as much and will give it 4 stars. So in a sense, people who really like a product, a service, or a business tend to review it earlier. So maybe this is all that's driving this effect. Why should we blame Groupon? The other hypothesis we want to test is that it's maybe the reviewers. It's you and I. We're just cheap and cranky, and even if we get a discount, we're simply going to complain. The third hypothesis, which I prefer, is blame it on the businesses. It's not me, it's them. Maybe when I go there, they're unprepared, there are many other Groupon users, they cannot handle the volume, maybe they give me a smaller portion of food because I'm paying them less money, and they actively discriminate against me. The fourth hypothesis, let's not blame anyone, neither the consumer nor the business. It's simply a bad match. Maybe I'm not into sailing, the coupon I presented before, but you know, for 50% off, I will try it. I wouldn't have paid full value. What does that mean? Most likely I will be disappointed. And finally, this is a specific feature of online reviews and Yelp. Many reviews tend to be fake. So one thing you can imagine is that prior to Groupon, some fraction of those reviews that brought you to 3.75 stars were not actually real. So maybe what's going on here is the following. Groupon users just go and buy your coupon, they visit your business, they write their honest reviews, these reviews are accurate, and they simply deflate your rating because your fake reviews are now a smaller proportion of your overall review volume. All right, so let me skip that. So let's look at this hypothesis quickly one by one. I told you that ratings decline over time. Well, here is the proof. Let me quickly explain this chart. All we have done here is this is your first review, your second review, your 40th review, and your 100th review. And all this chart says is that, indeed, earlier ratings are a substantial bit higher than later ratings. So when we're doing our analysis, we certainly have to factor this in. Our second hypothesis was that maybe it's the businesses. And unfortunately, here I cannot offer too many insights because our data set did not have that kind of richness, and this is something we're looking into extending. But here are a few things that we found. First of all, the most surprising thing was 1 year after offering Groupon, 10% of the businesses that offered it had closed. It absolutely disappeared from the map. That doesn't inspire you with a lot of confidence that these were good, successful businesses to start with. Another thing that we found, and at least we found a lot of anecdotal evidence, was that if you look at the reviews, and I think that speaks to the difficulties in working with unstructured data, and this is something we're trying to get better at, you can tell that many Groupon users felt unsatisfied because they were treated, as this reviewer puts it, as second-class citizens. And while this is prevalent in our data, it was a bit harder for us to actually code. Finally, the other thing that we found is that not all businesses are bad. Some of them were smarter in setting up the terms and conditions of their deals. So approximately 30% of them ran capped Groupon deals. That means they only sold a limited amount of coupons, so it was easier for them to satisfy the volume. And also, approximately a quarter of them required you to make a reservation in order to use your coupon, so that you wouldn't go there and wait in a long line and be disappointed. So there is a lot of variance there. All right. I also asked before whether we should be blaming the consumer. So here is what we did here. There are all these people like you and I who went, bought a Groupon, visited the business, reviewed that business, and gave it a low score. So here I'm going to look at how I rated other businesses when I was not using a Groupon. Because if I'm truly cranky and cheap, maybe I will be giving low scores to businesses whether they offer me a discount or not. Long story short, what we found is that Groupon users, as a population, are not more critical than their peers. Their average rating for non-Groupon businesses is approximately the same, 3.71 stars versus 3.76 stars. And the distribution of the ratings, if you look at that, I would say they're slightly more moderate in their reviews. They give here 1-star ratings, fewer 5-star ratings than their peers, and a few more 4-star ratings. But nothing too scary. This is not a consumer that you would like to avoid. Our data contains some further insights about these users. And briefly, they just tend to be more popular on Yelp and on social media. As Gladwell might put it, these users are mavens. They're more likely to discover your business, more likely to review it online, and more likely to tell the large Yelp network about their experience. So in a way, these are people that you might like to attract, not people that you might like to avoid. All right, hypothesis 4, experimentation. Here is what I mean by experimentation. Let me quantify that. I'm talking about things that I have not tried before. And how do I measure that in the data? Well, that proved to be tricky. So we used 2 proxies. We know for every user, So you can look at my Yelp history, what type of businesses I like to review, and where they're located. So maybe you know that I like Italian restaurants, and usually the restaurants I visit are in 0 to 139. Then as you're browsing through my history, you notice that I visited a restaurant in 0 to 215, and maybe it was a French restaurant. And I have never visited a restaurant in that zip code before, or of that cuisine before. So this is what we're going to call an experimental review. Something that stands out in your Yelp history. All right? So when we do that, here is what we find. We find that when using a Groupon, consumers are 4 times more likely to experiment, 35% versus 9%, than when they don't use a Groupon. So these discounts make consumers try out new things. And if you're a business, I think this is a valuable insight. You might expect less familiarity with your product or service on the behalf of Groupon consumers, and you might want to prepare for that. And for our final analysis, we looked at fake reviews. And we asked whether your rating was artificially inflated before. So maybe your rating after Groupon more accurately reflects the quality of your business rather than your rating pre-Groupon. And we found some evidence of that. So Groupon users are less likely to write reviews that are perceived as being fake, and their ratings are slightly lower. So maybe there is something going on here. All right. So to conclude, I wanted to argue with my presentation that we can gain powerful insights into marketing problems at least, not only by accumulating large volumes of data, but by linking and matching disparate, seemingly disparate sources of data together. From a managerial perspective, I would say Groupon is not particularly bad in the sense that it attracts bad users. These are users that are very well connected online and can bring with them more business. Groupon is not well suited to businesses that have limited capacity because they cannot deal with that. And finally, I think one of the insights of our study was that if you're a business considering running a Groupon deal, one of the things that you should take into account in a decision theoretic framework is your current Yelp rating, as well as that of your competitors. And finally, as far as Groupon goes, in terms of its business model, one thing that it has to do is break the link with bad Yelp ratings. So instead of focusing on driving more and more consumers to businesses, it should focus, I think, on driving quality consumers that are well matched to the coupons and the promotions it advertises. So thank you. That was my talk.